All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about why I've been afraid to do solo travel and things like that, and why my heritage travel trip series, HTT, is been a really big deal for me. So there's the family component of going to the lands of my ancestors, which is really big, and kind of reconnecting with the past and my family's history. And where I get it is challenging for me is there are two things that come to the forefront each time I do something by myself. So this could be just traveling by myself, specifically like overnight kind of traveling by myself. Scotland was the first time I've done a long trip overnight by myself. It might actually be the first time I've done a trip overnight by myself with nobody I knew. And I met people along the way, mostly workers of places. But it was a solo trip, so I didn't really go making friends and then traveling place to place with those friends, or being like, let's stay at the same place tonight, because to me that's no longer a solo adventure. If you're making friends and then changing plans or planning together, that's no longer a solo journey for me. So that's why I talk to people as I am just on the road, but I don't think I made small talk with a single tourist when I was in Scotland. It was the workers of the places I was at, which is kind of, that can't be right. But I think, no, I was seriously just here for Scotland, and I still made conversations with workers. There's nothing wrong with that. So no. Anyway, I can get distracted. So why was I afraid to go to Scotland? Why am I afraid to travel by myself? And why is something like my biggest fear in life was bungee jumping, something I never thought I would do. I pushed myself to do it. I have this really intense fear of heights, and so it was just like, I can't do that, and I did it. And so once I have found in my life, once I conquer a fear, there are other fears that become things that I should tackle for myself. Not they become extreme like the bungee jumping fear. It's just I should work on this next kind of thing. And so the big one, aside from solo travel and staying in like a hostel or a hotel or a bed and breakfast or an inn or something like that, is camping alone. And my biggest fears, there are two things, and one's way more anxiety for me than the other. And the first is I sleepwalk, and the second is I sleep talk. Now, sleepwalking for a lot of people will just be like they go out of their room and they go down to the fridge or whatever. When on a family vacation, I tried to escape our hotel room, and my mom had to go like on my cheek to wake me up because I was trying to climb out of the window at this hotel, or I don't know if it technically was a hotel, don't remember. But the hotel was located at the top of sea cliffs, so if I had gotten out of the hotel room and walked a little ways, I could have fallen off and died. So that is the problem with sleepwalking, is I can die from it. And it's literally, and I have a history that causes concern. So with my sleepwalking. So where am I going with this? Well, my fear every single night of my life I go to sleep, whether I am traveling abroad or not, is will I wake up where I am now? And one of the things I did was just like, I'll wake up and I'll be like, I've done that where I've waken up in the same place I was, but during the night I walked off to the kitchen and grabbed a book and a phone and came back, and that was in the bed when I woke up in the morning. And so there's stuff like that where I'm like, if I'm staying at a hotel and I sleepwalk, right, and I sleepwalk out of the hotel or I sleepwalk out of my room, that's just not safe. And I'm in a foreign land, and I don't want to end up walking 15 miles in my sleep and have no freaking idea where I am because I'm in a foreign country. There's the also, am I gonna sleepwalk out of a hotel room into traffic? Am I gonna sleepwalk out of a hotel room or a bed and breakfast room off some cliffs? So it is something that causes me stress every single night of my life. Like literally I'll just lie in bed being afraid to go to sleep. And being in a foreign country doesn't make it any better. So traveling by myself is extremely not stressful, but just it requires me overcoming a huge internal barrier to doing it because I'm, and it sounds so ridiculous, but I'm risking my life every night I go to sleep. And I'm gonna go to sleep because sleep deprivation leads to accidents and can lead to death too. So yeah, so that's terrifying. The sleep, in comparison to sleepwalking for myself, sleep talking is far less terrifying. It's just, I can scream in my sleep, and then that's disruptive, and I can talk, and that can be disruptive to people in different rooms if I'm loud enough. So that's more of a concern with disturbing the peace is the sleep talking component. Yeah, that's more in a hotel or a bed and breakfast kind of setting. That's not so much a concern because the walls are thicker, and a campground setting, that's more of a concern because tents are pretty thin, and so then like, and a lot of the time it'll just be like crickets anyway, and so then if I'm sleep talking, I'm disrupting other people's sleep, and so yeah, and it's not something I really have control over so much. So yeah, those are two of the concerns. The sleepwalking one, I don't sleepwalk as much as I used to, and I haven't been trying to climb out of any windows like I did at that hotel that was at the top of Sea Cliffs. Recently I haven't been doing that, so I've been working on that and overcoming my fears, but it is one that it doesn't go away. So on every single heritage travel trip I go on, it will be a concern. I don't get this trip's gonna be better than the last one, because no, they're all gonna be equally good, just good in a different way, because I'm not going if I'm not gonna find a way to make it good. And there are underlying stressors that don't go away. I still don't think stress is the right word. It's just cause for concern for myself. It's also not worry. It's just like something I have to get through. So I might use the term anxiety for that purpose. But it's just kind of like, well, I'm going to go to sleep and I'm already in the country. And so that was actually how I overcame it in Scotland, was I was just like, well, I'm already in the country, so I might as well go to sleep because whatever happens, I'll deal with it tomorrow. And that mentality for my sleepwalking, actually, like, whatever happens, I'll deal with it. And so I didn't ever get into a negative funk. And I think one time I kind of did it, and I was just like, this trip is about me. And that centered me, and that was kind of all I need. So it's kind of a double-edged sword in that sense of, or not double-edged sword. It has good and it has bad. Like, it's a source of anxiety. Well, I'll stick with anxiety as the term, I guess. It's a source of anxiety, but it's also something that has a huge impact on my mindset while traveling as a solo individual, because I am well suited and ready every moment of that trip to deal with things that happen according to plan, so unexpected occurrences, and I'm in a positive mindset to deal with it. And so many people I know struggle with that, and we'll get into a negative complaining, or just like, this isn't what we wanted to happen, or that kind of thing. And I'm just kind of like, I made it through the night, man. I'm alive, and I woke up in my hotel room and nothing happened. Like, I didn't walk across the street, and I have no idea where I am now. So it's just a huge, I would actually say in that way, it's actually a really positive thing when traveling solo, is like, if I can make it through the night, I can make it through anything. And so that's pretty cool. Actually, I did not know that about the sleepwalking anxiety until I went to Scotland and I started solo travel. And so it's been a huge, kind of like this thing that in some ways is kind of a curse, because I'm afraid of going to bed. It's also a blessing in a way, because I am ready to deal with the unexpected and the unanticipated, and I can approach it from a positive view. And a lot of people don't have that, and so I do actually, in a way, view it as a blessing. And it was something I learned in Scotland that I didn't know before Scotland, because I hadn't put myself in a foreign country, sleeping by myself, solo traveling, and that kind of thing. And so, and not having travel companions in the sense of let's stay at the same place or do the same thing, that I can be like, if we're staying at the same place, there's somebody who can kind of like, I can tell that I'm a sleepwalker, and then they can like keep track of that. I didn't do that at all. So, but yeah, so I guess the moral of the story is conquering fears, solo travel and stuff like that, as things that cause anxiety can actually cause extreme anxiety reduction in the long run, because it has such a significant effect on the mindset that it ends up becoming, some things are just so intense that if you go far enough, it actually becomes positive. And that sleepwalking anxiety is one of those where I'm just like, it's just the nights that I'm worried about now. Even like I got a flat tire and I couldn't drive for until the flat tire was fixed and stuff, and I was just like, I took it in stride. And I think just, yeah, it was a huge highlight of my Scotland heritage travel trip that I realized having sleepwalking is in its own way kind of like a superpower, because the unintended consequences are actually good. That I'm ready for the unexpected. So yeah, that's a bit about my fears of solo traveling and solo camping. I don't know if I'll do that solo camping. That's just like a whole different level for me, and with my sleepwalking and talking. So we'll see.